We're live back in CNBT 1311 land. We're in the home stretch now. There's chapter 10, 11, and 12 left to go in the book. A lot of this is going to be a repeat, and we're not going to belabor it too bloody much. There are 30 pages here, roughly, in chapter 10. And I'll be comparing the edition 5 with this PDF edition 4 as we go through. All right, let's get started. The definition for finish work, the major materials and methods used to finish the interior wall, ceiling, and floor surface of a building. Interior wall should be resistant to wear and be cleanable. Floor should be durable, comfortable, and safe to walk on. Ceiling should be relatively maintenance-free. I remodeled did a church build-out years ago when I was still doing construction work. Well, I had a little construction, a side gig on the weekends, and in the nursery, for all those little ankle biters, I put 4 by 8 foot sheets of bathroom board, white bathroom board, 4 foot up from the cove, then put a chair rail around the top of that. So those little goobers, they could take dry markers and draw on it, and you could erase it off and then hose it off with Clorox wipes and stuff like that. So anyway, the intended use of any interior space is important. It's got to be well thought out. Again, I'm going to tell you the devil's in the details, and it is. Rigid finishes can be brittle, and you can read this stuff for yourself. I am not going to belabor and read this to you like it's a bedtime story. A lot of the wall covering material needs to be supported, and it needs to be, again, back at what is the holy things for a wall. Vapor and moisture barrier. You got to be careful about what you're sticking it on. So anyway, let's get down on through it. Surface finishes have a crucial influence on the aesthetic quality of the space. If you're working for a big architectural firm, you'll probably have some interior desecrator in there, you know, picking out all the feng shui stuff for the interior. He starts off with plaster. It's been my experience that plaster has gone out of vogue. It's very labor intensive. It's expensive. It can be durable, but it's applied in layers, just like pool plastering, and it can go over CMUs, it can go over concrete, it can go over wood laths. It's basically divided into 2-coat plaster system or a 3-coat plaster, and you can read the definitions here. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on plastering. Plastering is special art, and like I say, it's labor intensive, and it's more expensive than drywall or gypsum board or sheetrock or whatever you want to call it. There is all manner of different kinds of plaster. There's wood fiber, neat, vermiculite, ready mix, and anyway. Plaster's put over laths. The laths is something for the plaster to bite into. The corner beads at the corners, this is all built up. Plaster is put in here. This is your plaster line. That's your plaster line. And that would be your plaster line. All right, enough of that. Gypsum lath is a panel having air-entrained core of hardened gypsum plaster faced with a fiber absorbent paper which plaster adheres. There's perforated gypsum lath, insulating gypsum. There's a type X lath, and then there's trim accessories that go all through here. It's up to you to read this. Here's different details of plaster. The problem with this, of going over studs, is the drumming effect. Remember, this is thin coat. It's a thin cement coat, and this has a propensity to deflect and crack. This is the gypsum lath with holes in it to allow it to breathe. I still think a conventional plaster is, well, there are better surface coatings now than traditional plaster. But your mileage is going to vary. Your client may want it, and the details are in here. Here's more plaster details. Why you would do a plaster ceiling, I have no idea. You're talking about some expense. He calls these ceiling details. This is a partition wall in details. Metal door frame. You can probably guess I'm not a real advocate for traditional wet plaster walls. They're a pain. You can plaster over masonry, but the problem with masonry is you've got water and vapor intrusion in here. So if this is the interior, you're going to want to make sure you've got a good water vapor and air vapor out here, and make sure that the water content of your masonry units is low when you pour this on here, because you got water in the plaster. It's going to weep into here, and then you've got intrusion with latents, and which is the calcium carbonate leaching out of the cement. Here's a detail of laths and plaster over a concrete wall. Here's laths. These are channels. I call them a lath. And gypsum board over that. Well, he's calling them plaster over furring. All right. Instead of a lath, he's using the furring. It's the same thing. It just furs off of here, gives you an airspace in here. All right. Direct application means you just throw it straight up on the masonry or the concrete wall, just like you would a pool plaster, just like you would be plastering a swimming pool. Plaster ceilings. These things are heavy. There's certainly a better suspended ceiling system than plaster. And let's move on. Gypsum board. This is probably the vast majority of wall coverings in commercial buildings and residences, right? It is gypsum board, or sheetrock, okay? Sheetrock is a trade name of a certain company. Everybody just refers to it as sheetrock. This stuff's been around for many, many, many years. It got its takeoff after World War II, and the gypsum board is of different edge conditions, and what it is a sheet of material used for covering walls or as lath. It consists of gypsum core, surface, and edge performance. Okay, the way this stuff is made, this stuff comes in wet, and then it's sandwiched in between the two skins on both sides, and it's let dried. Okay, and so anyway, and we'll talk about the types of gypsum board here in a minute. Thing you need to worry about is your edges. Okay, what kind of sheetrock or gypsum board edge? You got a tapered edge. This allows you to do more mud floating in here. This is a square edge. You still got to tape and float this stuff. You can get on YouTube, and they've got some good videos on YouTube about how to install drywall and how to tape and float it. A good tape and float person is a very skilled individual. They can run a lot of tape and float. This is all floated with mud and with a paper or fiberglass reinforced tape over it. This is a beveled edge. It gets its name because it's beveled. This is square because it's square. This is tapered. This is a rounded edge, and this is a tongue and groove edge. All right. Regular wall board. You got type X board. You've got core board, which is square, tongue, and grooved. It's used to line elevator shafts and stairways and mechanical chases, and as a base in solid gypsum partitions. Gypsum board has a fire rating. They use it a lot to box in steel columns to get their 1, 2, 3, and 4 hour fire ratings according to the building codes in UL. Type X board has glass fibers and other additives to increase its fire resistance. And some of this stuff's available. Yes, it is, with a foil backing. Pre-finished board, it's pre-finished, okay? So that means it has a vinyl or printed paper surface. Core board is usually, we already talked about core board. All right. Foil back board, all right, is a square tapered edge. It's got aluminum foil backing. It serves as a vapor retarder and as a reflective thermal insulator when the foil faces a 3/4 inch minimum dead airspace. That's a dead airspace, okay? Backing board, it's square, tongue, and groove. It's used as the base layer in a multi-layer assembly for increased rigidity, sound insulation, and fire resistance. It's available with regular or type X cores or with a foil backing. Water resistance board. It's called water board. Short name is water board. It's got a tapered edge, and it gives you your thickness ranges, and it's 4 foot wide, 8 feet to 12 foot long, and it's used as a base for ceramic or other non-absorbent tile in high moisture areas. In the olden days, they used to use this water board in bathrooms as the backer board to lay tile on. We have much better backer board systems now. It's the Hardy board, it's cement board, and a good detail would be to put a layer of water resistant board up and then throw the Hardy board, the cement backer board, tile backer board, on top of the sheetrock, the gypsum, and then float your tile, mastic your tile onto the cement board. The problem with using just a water board for tile is that if that tile starts to peel off, it's going to peel the paper layer off that, and you're going to have a mess on your hands to try to repair. You're going to have a really pissed off client. So in my opinion, in my humble opinion, use a good water board if you're going to use gypsum, because you need it for fire rating, from the backside of the bathroom, and then you come in with the cement Hardy board, and then you put your tile on here. Now that's an ugly looking tile, but then you put your tile on that, and the tile's adhering to the concrete board. That's adhered to that, and you'll have a much better detail. If you really want to get good, then you could use a good exterior grade plywood, and then put the Hardy board on the plywood with a Tyvek wrap between the Hardy board and the plywood. But then from this side, you don't have any fire. You don't have a fire rating. So let's just assume this was a 2x4 stud. You'd have a layer of gypsum board on this side, and you'd have your fire blocking running up the wall on the inside here. Remember the fire blocking? Keeps out the chimney effect if there's a fire. And that's probably the best of both of all your worlds here. But me having done a lot of remodeling for my own house, I'm telling you that Hardy backer board for the tiles, the best thing to go, the best way to do it. The tile adheres to it well, and you don't have to worry about the tile peeling the paper off the gypsum board. Because trust me, it's a mess trying to patch that if it's just the sheetrock. All right, then there's sheathing board, which is square tongue. It is square or tongue and groove. It has a fire-resistant core, and it's faced with a water-repellent paper for use as an exterior sheathing. If you use this for exterior sheathing on my project, I'm gonna fire you. All right. There are better exterior sheathing materials. Use treated plywood. Use that as your exterior sheathing to get a diaphragm effect on the wall, and then lay up hardy siding. All right, that's my opinion. Okay, gypsum board application. Okay, masonry or concrete base. Do not put gypsum board directly on concrete or masonry. You'll need furring strips. Okay, period. Especially down here in this area. You want to get some airspace in here. You don't want this direct contact because of moisture mitigation. All right. Now, on regular 2x4 studding, of course, you're going to have fire blocking in here. Right? You'll have fire blocking interlaced through the wall. All right. Then you can lay your 4x8 foot sheets on a typical residential wall. These will be 1/2 inch unless your building code requires thicker. Commercial is going to be 5/8. Residential will be 1/2 inch on the walls and 5/8 on the ceiling. So just remember that if you're going into typical residential, make sure you check the thickness of your ceiling sheetrock before you run and buy a 1/2 inch sheet, or you'll have an 1/8 inch dip in your patch. All right. This shows a detail of wood furring. This does take some of the drumming effect out, but it does make your wall thicker. It will make your wall thicker. If these are on 16-inch centers, you should not have a problem with a good 4x8 foot sheet of sheetrock spanning this way without furring strips. But you may need the furring strips. Again, your mileage may vary. Okay. And this will be the same for metal studs, whether it is for wood studs. Okay. Stud wall base or light gauge metal framing. It's the same. You can bend sheetrock. Here are some rules of thumb on your curve radiuses, board thickness, and what you can bend it. Okay. All right, let's see. He mentioned the use of sound. If you really want to try to sound attenuate a wall, you need to double stud it. You know, offset your studs. Your base plate, your base is going to be thicker, and then you're going to have studs on this side. You have stud on that side offset, and that way you don't have solid material for the transmission of sound. But that's a whole nother conversation. Okay. All right. Here's gypsum board on a suspended ceiling. If you're going to go to the expense of a suspended ceiling, I'd use a regular commercial suspended ceiling with suspended ceiling tiles. But you can use gypsum board if you want. My personal preference, if it's not a wood frame structure like this, where you're nailing the or screwing, you're screwing the gypsum board up onto your above floor joist. If you're going to go to the expense of a suspended ceiling, use your traditional suspended ceiling. All right. He talks about the type of board that can be used, and Again, do not rely on this fire rating for these assemblies. You need to check your current code. Always check your current code. This would be a very expensive ceiling. Oh my God. And then a maintenance headache. You got to get in here and work on some HVAC work or something. That means you got to cut through all this stuff. We'll talk about suspended ceilings in a little bit. All right. The corner edging on traditional tape and float sheetrock is a big deal. These corner details, again, the devil's in the details. What he doesn't show you is a bullnose. In this book. Let me check the 5th edition and see if he does have, and I'll give you a reference page. He does not show the bullnose. No, he does not. At least not in the 5th edition. All right. All that is when you're meeting in the corner here, you're bringing in 2 of these. So you're going to bring in, and it's generally, it's just a round bullnose like that. And you bring your sheetrock up into the bullnose, and so you got a piece of sheetrock coming in here. Boy, that's an ugly drawing. Okay, so you're making this corner in the corner, instead of it being square like this, it's got a radius on it, and then you tape and float into that radius, and this is a corner nose, bull nose, round bull nose. The problem with these, you're going to come in here, you're going to tape and float back here, which means you're going to be building up this wall with wall putty, floating compound, and these edges tend to nick and peel. They get hit, and the paint falls off of them. These are PVC or plastic extruded, and they seem to take a lot more hits and wear. My mother-in-law, who had her own interior decorating company, you'll notice because I said it's my mother-in-law and I love her dearly, I didn't say interior desecration. Anyway, they're in San Antonio. She was the interior decorator for some major $1-million houses in San Antonio, and of course her house that she's in, she has these bullnose corners for the sheetrock, and I love her dearly. She and I like to go to art museums together and talk art and and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, and you just thought I was another pretty face, didn't you? But yeah. Let's see, and trust me, there are so many different profiles available for these corner trims. He talks about the corner beads being damaged. Well, I guarantee you, these over the life cycle of that wall are going to get beat up and dinged. And most of them are light gauge, metal or aluminum. And you ding one of these, that ding's going to go in, and there's no way to pull it out. You just have to putty it up and try to get the paint to stick on it. Anyway, that's enough of that silliness. Ceramic tile. Ceramic tile comes in all kinds of shapes, sizes, names, you name it. Just go to one of these big tile places, one of these big super duper ones. What is that, Tile and Flooring or something? That's where I got that Italian marble pavers that I use for my kitchen and entry hall years and years ago. They've got all kinds of countertop trims, down corners, you name it. Round beads. And some of the tiles glazed. We talked about glazed CMUs in industrial plants. You can come in there and and take a pressure washer and hose them down. Spectre Glaze was the company, if I remember correctly. Then you have ceramic mosaic tile, and you got quarry or paver tiles. And that's what I used for my countertops in my kitchen. Is um, is Italian marble pavers, um, and make sure I didn't get any lippage. When you're laying tile in, um, well, when you're laying tile, assuming that you can actually draw, all right, you got these spacer joints in between here that you're going to grout. The lippage is the elevation difference between one tile to the other. You got a lippage puck that's plastic, and you slide across as you're floating the tile in to make sure that you have a smooth transition from one tile to the next. Last thing you want is lippage. So when you're dragging something across the floor or the countertop, it doesn't hit a snag right there. That's called lippage. You want zero lippage. Just like your mama used to tell you, don't give me no lip, son. Um, um, and consult the tile manufacturer. Okay. All right. Ceramic tile application. You can put ceramic tile on just about anything. On just about anything. You have thin set and you got thick set. This is the definition of the thin set process, and this is the definition of the thick set process. Thick set is you make a bunch of cementitious cement mortar, just like you would, with special additives and stuff like that, and you have a setting bed, and that's your first set. You have to have suitable backings. I'm talking about strong, structurally. These things cannot deflect. And then, and it can be anything: monolithic concrete, plywood, gypsum plaster. Again, you want to make sure, and you'll do your setting bed, which is a filled mix of Portland cement, sometimes hydrated lime. They make special mixes for thick set process, and then then the tiles are going to be laid with a 1/16 inch bond coat of neat Portland cement. Okay. Now the thin set is where you will buy a bucket of a bonding compound, and it's a very thin coat. They call it a dry set mortar or latex Portland cement or epoxy mortar, an organic adhesive. You'll see that over in the tile sections when you go to these box stores, and that will be your thin set compound. They do require, just like a thick set, a solid dimensionally stable backing of gypsum plaster, gypsum board, or plywood. In wet areas around bathtubs and showers, you're going to want to use a 1/2 inch thick glass fiber reinforced concrete backer board and set the tile with latex Portland cement or a dry set mortar. You may have to acid etch your masonry surfaces if these are going on it, because you want it free of what we call effervescence. You don't want that stuff to leach through, and you'll have all these little white streaks running down. Okay. If you're going to use a dry set or a latex Portland cement mortar, it's used to set the tile. The surface should be rounded to ensure a good bond. Okay. Now they have special trowels for these things, which leave a groove, and that lets you set these tiles even so you don't get any lippage between the joints. And then they sell spacers to make sure you have an even grout line spacer. Best thing to do is to do this thin set stuff over a concrete cement, like a hardy tile board or bathroom board, because these setting compounds will adhere to that concrete a whole lot better than they will gypsum or plywood. Problem is, you want a good bond, and you don't want this base to flex at all in this wall. All right. Suitable floors for thin set installations include concrete slabs and double wood floors. We're talking about double wood, okay? Uh, Again, you don't want the stuff to flex, or the tile's going to pop. It will pop. Um, and here's another thing. Put the concrete slabs. Generally, they'll come in here and they'll put a leveling compound, which is a very expensive per bag, non-shrink, quick dry, um, Portland cement based with additives in it, to level out any imperfections in the floor. And then they'll come in and start laying the tile on top of that. Here's another term: membrane isolates the mortar bed from damage or unsuitable backings. Well, there should be no unsuitable backings, period. All right. If you acid etch the concrete base good and clear off the latents, which is the powder from the concrete pour, you shouldn't have a problem. Right, again, the devil's in the details. Here's some more ceramic tile details. Cement mortar, thin set, organic adhesives, some more interior walls. Here's making a cove turn with an expansion joint. This stuff does expand, so if you've got a huge wall, this stuff's going to expand. Okay, so this would be like a wall going to a floor. If not, you'll have buckling in here. In my opinion, the best thing to do is, if you just got to have a uniform return, you're still going to have a joint there. There's an easier way to handle that. Bring the tile down, put a cove molding base on here on top of this floor that lets this floor slide underneath the wall. This wall can be terminated up here, the tile, and then it gives you a nice joint to expand. All right. Here's another one: thin set mortar and organic adhesive again. They're very similar. What's you got here? Oh, the ceramic tile shower. All right. You need a waterproof membrane or a pan underneath here. A lot of times you have, like if this is a concrete, poured in concrete pan that's going down to the shower drain. You'll actually come in here with this membrane and glue it down and overlap the joints, and then come in here and pour the bed, pour the shower pan, the actual pan, with reinforced cement mortar, and then you can lay your tile in on top of it. The technology has gotten now that we have pre-molded shower pans that you actually come in here and set over your waterproof membrane, and they have all this built into them, and they're made out of composites, and they're not the nasty little fiberglass things. So again, if you're working for a big architectural firm, you'll probably have people that specialize in this stuff. Here's a bathtub. Here's a typical bathtub edge, and some flexible sealant. Now, this is no extra charge for this course. If you're going to have a wall detail here with tile for a bathtub, once you get the bathtub set, and you run your tile line down, then you need to fill this bathtub up with water. Fill it all the way up with water. And why is that? Because water weighs 62.4 pounds per cubic foot. And this bathtub is going to settle a little bit. I don't care how strong it is, it's going to settle a little bit. So you let that bathtub fill full of water. Your water. Okay. Okay. There's a little duck. Little bathtub. That's a good looking duck. Well, anyway. All right. There's a little rubber ducky floating in the bathtub. And then after the bathtub fully loaded with H2O, hydrogen oxide, 62.4 pounds a cubic foot. Then come in here and run that sealant line, that flexible sealant line. If not, you're going to come in here and seal the dry bathtub, and it's going to look nice and pretty and everything. And after a couple of uses in this bathtub, that sealant's going to start pulling away, and then the splashes are going to come in behind here. And if this is a closet over here, they're going to start having water intrusion in this layer of the sheetrock. Or if this is upstairs, it'll leak down through the ceiling. So before you do that final sealant joint, fill that bathtub full of water. Let it settle and then seal it. Because when you drain the water, the bathtub is going to contract, got the weight removed on it, and you'll have a tighter joint. There's no extra charge for that. Okay. This is tile countertops. Okay. I did not put a cut lath, a cut joint in any of mine because I ran the countertop back here, and when I brought the wall down, the tile for the wall, I had a grout line, a sealant line, not grout, goober. I came in here with a good silicone sealant, brown silicone sealant, and there's actually a joint there. I had a backer rod in here and then sealed it, so I didn't have to worry about expansion. The countertop can expand, the wall can expand, and there's our expansion joint right there. Again, the devil's in the details. Okay. And I've had no problem with water incursion through that joint. All right. So again, comes through, the wall comes down, and stuff back right in there, and seal that with a good high-tech looking sealant of the same color as the tile. All right. Terrazzo flooring. Terrazzo is a mosaic floor or paving composed of marble or other stone chips. It's set in a cementitious or resinous mixture. What that means is it can be cement or it can be an epoxy-based matrix of additives and other things. These things can be hard if they're done right. You can get all kinds of terrazzo. These are specialty floors done by people that specialize in this. And this talks about the standard and the Venetian, okay, and he gives us some details, okay. You will still need control joints, just like you would in a concrete floor. God, I'd be really scared putting terrazzo over a wood or metal or a floor. Concrete would be good. Again, the stuff doesn't like to flex. Okay, so that's a monolithic terrazzo. You can see the subfloor is getting thicker. All right, and bonded terrazzo, and this is chemical terrazzo. Now we're getting up into the higher mixtures of epoxy stuff. Okay, epoxy is a chemical bond, not a mechanical bond. All right, vinyl esters are mechanical bonds, but epoxy is a chemical bond. It's required. Sand cushion terrazzo. Why in the name of Zeus would you do that? Well, I guess if your floor was thick enough, gives it a little bit of a cushion. You're talking about a very expensive floor here, very expensive. Getting that sand in uniformly dense when you start laying all this in. Here's a set of stairs that the terrazzo's poured over the topping. It's a terrazzo stair. This shows a concrete stair run. You can use metal pans, prefabricated structural steel pans. We talked about that in stairs. And you pour your mortar bed and then bring your terrazzo in on top of it. It's very, very expensive. Very expensive, very labor intensive. Makes a nice little stair though, but it's expensive. Wood flooring. Oh my God. Wood flooring. There's all kinds of wood flooring. There's floated wood floorings. There's traditional nailed wood floorings. There's flat grained. This would be like in a barn or something. I would not use flat edged. If you're going to go to the expense of flooring, either use tongue and groove individual wood strips like this, or go to the expense of 4x8 foot sheet engineered plywood tongue and groove flooring systems. Here's some manufacturers associations. Okay. Wood flooring is available in strips, planks, or manufactured blocks and panels. I mean, you name it. Just go to one of these high-end flooring places. Then we've got composite flooring, okay, where it's engineered, real thin strips that snap in together, and they float over a rubber sheet. All right. All of these things, if you lay in a traditional wood floor over sleepers, you're going to need to blind nail them. You'll come in here with a floor nailer, and you'll have to blind nail right through here, and move this over here. Oh, I should already had this pulled up. These are floor nailers. How to use a flooring nailer. Okay, it's a pneumatic floor nailer. You hook the air hose to this. This is your clip for your nails. You use the mallet to activate it by hitting it on there, and this sets in that groove, that tongue and groove, and it drives that nail in at an angle to do what's called a blind nail.
Kimball Hausfeld wants to help make it easier for you to get professional results on your home improvement projects. Today we're going to show you how to install hardwood flooring using a flooring nailer. Hardwood flooring can make a lasting impression and truly enhance the beauty of your home. This video will show you how to install solid tongue and groove flooring. This video is intended to help you install your flooring with an air-powered flooring nailer. You may receive additional installation instructions from the flooring manufacturer. Be sure to consult all directions provided
on how to install it. They're usually installed with mastic over a wood subfloor or a concrete slab. It means they're glued down. Okay. This talks about wood flooring installation, and you're running your boards underneath your base trim, and you need to leave a space for ventilation and expansion, because this stuff's going to move. I don't care how good you think you got the moisture content in that flooring. All right. This is building felt for vapor barrier. There's your floor joist. This is your plywood or panel subfloor, and this is strip flooring. Now, traditional oak wood floor is over sleepers, okay, and these are called sleepers, and they're mastic. They're glued down with mastic on the concrete, And there'll be a vapor barrier across them, and use treated wood for that, and these things are blind nailed into the sleepers, and that means there's an airspace underneath here. So a traditional wood floor is going to have a little not only bounce to it, but it'll also have a drumming effect if you're not careful. So you want to get these sleepers pretty close together. Again, you're going to follow the manufacturer's recommendation for the space on these things. The worst, because I mean, you get one bite at the apple at this. Once this floor's down, it's too bad. And it's a traditional oak floor. These things are unfinished, so you'll bring in a floor sander and have to sand that floor flat, and then come in and finish it. With today's technology, there are easier floor systems that you can purchase that snap together over a floated rubber sheet over your concrete. That way, if you need to replace one, you got a better chance of fixing it. Coming in here and fixing a ding, if somebody drops something heavy and breaks through one of these or tears one of them up, you've got to come in here and try to saw a piece out and fit one in and then blind nail it after it's already installed. It's not that easy. Now, these things will shrink and swell as the moisture content changes. You follow your manufacturer's recommendation. They'll tell you how many days you need to store this stuff in what kind of condition. Wood floors like this are expensive to put in, and that's why most of these track houses have carpet, or they'll have glued down tile or vinyl tiling or something like that, or rubber tiles. And he talks more about setting the flooring boxes in mastic. Stone flooring. This is probably a good place to stop. All right, this will be 10-2. All right, stone flooring is a specialty all unto itself. You'll have to come in, put a leveling compound down over a concrete floor, and then it'll be thick set or thin set, depending on this type of stone it is, and then you'll have to come in and grout these things. But we'll talk more about that later. All right, that's enough for this video. What's wrong?